Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome back to our fifth and final session of our back to school boot camp. This has been such an awesome day, just packed full of the most amazing information and speakers. And I'm so excited to be able to share a few of my thoughts with y'all today. Go ahead and drop in the chat. It's been so fun to see where people are joining us from and what grade you're teaching. We love to hear from teachers. If you can't hear me, check your device's audio settings, make sure everything's set up and working there. If you have questions, you can use either the question box or we do have the chat enabled today. And we've got Rick from our last session. If you saw that one, tons of energy. He's going to be answering questions for us in the chat. And we've already got a teacher chiming in. You guys are the best. Marshall, Texas. Welcome, welcome. So this is session 5. I'm Natalie. I'm a curriculum writer here at Banzai. I'm also coordinating the professional development. And I thank you all for joining today. I really appreciate that. My session today is from day 1 to done, a teacher's playbook for personal finance. Billings, Montana. Oh, Levi, I saw you earlier. I love Montana. I'm actually from Alberta originally, so there's a fun connection there. So today we're going to be talking about 4 different areas. We're going to talk about core pedagogical strategies, expanding your playbook, and then Bonsai's resources and teacher support. So let's go. So teaching personal finance can feel like preparing students for a constantly shifting landscape, right? I know that when I took a personal finance class in college, now this was 20 years ago, none of these things were on the list, right? There was no peer-to-peer payments. Everyone used checks still. A lot of people actually weren't even using debit cards when I started college, okay? Afterpay was not a thing. Homeowner affordability challenges. Houses were way cheaper back in the early 2000s, right? Even in, more expensive, traditionally more expensive things, prices have risen like crazy. Inflation. Now I know that there was inflation issues back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, but in the early 2000s, we were all sitting pretty, right? And then financial scams. And so these are, oh, Jewel, sorry, I saw someone, daughter lives in Alberta, woot woot. Yes, we have a lot of new things all the time, right? And then now you have AI and you have just different things to be teaching students all the time. So how do you find an anchor? So there are a few core pedagogical strategies, and yes, I had to practice saying that word, that we really lean on here at Bonsai and that we think will be helpful for you in developing your personal finance playbook. So the relevance first, experiential learning is key, cultivate critical thinking, not just memorization, acknowledge behavioral finance, and creating a safe space for dialogue. So we're going to go over these in the time that we have. So relevance first. So if you joined for our session 3 with Dr. Kiki, she talked so much about this. And if you weren't able to catch that, check your email for a recording after the boot camp, because you are going to want to spend the time on that session. It was absolutely incredible talking about how to make lessons culturally and realistically relevant to our students. So always connecting financial concepts to students' immediate lives and future aspirations. So lessons are going to go a lot better for you if you talk about things that are actually relevant to them, right? Maybe talking about owning a home, that might not be in the cards, unfortunately, for some kids, or maybe it's too far down the road, right? But if you talk to them about a cell phone bill, gaming purchases, college savings, maybe career paths, those are things that are going to resonate with your students. In our Bonsai games, we try really hard to start with a relevant situation. So for instance, our consumer smarts game, the student wants some really expensive headphones that their parent can't buy for them. And then they make a bargain with the parent to take over managing the family budget for a month. And if they save enough money, they can put it towards the purchase of headphones. That's something that I have teenagers. That's something that they would maybe do. Would I let them do it? I don't know. But it's a game, right? So this is a good chance for students to learn by doing. So try to make things personal. And if you've got ideas for making lessons personal, go ahead and drop that in the chat. Here's some examples. So cell phone bills, how to read a bill, how much a phone costs, how to cut back on costs. I have a son going off to college this fall, and he needs to learn this. I pay for his cell phone bill. He probably has no idea how much a cell phone costs. Gaming purchases. This is a great way to teach need versus wants, or talk about delayed gratification, right? You want the new Switch 2 that came out. Well, you're going to have to wait for it. You're going to have to work. You're going to have to serve. So thinking about ways that you can make something relevant to what students are thinking about now. College savings. This is a great opportunity to teach compound interest, right? $10 saved every month for 10 years versus $100 saved for 10 months. What does that look like? Now I'm curious, what does that look like? Rick, can you run those calculations and throw it in the chat? I'm curious. Talking about scholarships, talking about student loans. So those are ways to make things relevant. So key point number 2, experiential learning is key. So moving beyond lectures, students learn best by doing, right? Lectures are important, information is important, but we really learn, most of us, by getting our hands dirty, so to speak, and learning from things in the real world. Now, do we want students getting their hands dirty in finance right away, aka going into bankruptcy, making really poor choices, ending up in debt? No, but can they learn that in one of our simulations, our choose your own adventure style games? Absolutely. And the cool thing about the way that our games are built is that they're replayable, right? So as a student makes a choice and sees a certain outcome, when they make a better choice on the second time through, and honestly, they probably will need to play multiple times. When I started working at Banzai as an adult with children and a mortgage, I failed the advanced budgeting class course, right? So, they'll need to play again, and they can make different choices and see different outcomes. So they're replayable, which is great for this kind of learning by doing. So emphasizing simulations, case studies, and real world applications. So here's some examples for simulations. So you talk about prioritizing resources, unexpected costs, and then the replayable scenarios I talked about. So for instance, in our life scenarios game, car goes kaput, and they can't control that, right? When we all can't control when our cars are going to go kaput. So then we have to decide how we're going to reshift our priorities or what we're going to do. Case studies. So things like worksheets and calculators, you can work through case studies, you could pull up an article in the news and come up with a worksheet or a calculator that can go with that. And I'll show you at the end some of our Banzai calculators. And then that real world application is really important. Comparing prices, understanding insurance, understanding things like gross versus net pay. I know that my oldest, when he had to do taxes for the first time, he was like, what? This is such a ripoff. And I was like, welcome to adulthood. You gotta pay for things that we have that are around us. And then he wanted to know, well, what are taxes used for and how do they benefit me? And so, you can have some of those real world applications that really help students. Cultivate critical thinking, not just memorization. So we need to teach students how to analyze financial information, evaluate sources, and question assumptions rather than simply recalling facts. This is vital in an age of abundant and sometimes misleading information. And quick plug here, we're actually working on a news literacy game that should be coming out in a few months that I think will really be helpful for teaching this concept. But I'd be curious to know, again, in the chat, if you have ideas on how you get students to cultivate critical thinking instead of just memorization. Here's a few of our ideas. For instance, our consumer smarts game, they have to compare deals, and they have to look for the hidden costs of things and think when they're signing up for a contract. Signing up for a service, is there a contract with this? Is there a hidden sign-up fee? Is there some sort of technology fee or some sort of thing that I can't get out of? They need to be thinking beyond what's just presented to them, right? What's the price per ounce? How do I compare something? Is the cheapest price actually the cheapest? And the answer is no, but these are all really good skills for students to learn. Misinformation, social media influencers. One of my favorite, and this maybe shouldn't be a favorite story, but we spoke at a teacher presentation and talked about a TikTok that went around talking about how you could get free money from an ATM. Did anyone see this or hear about it? It was the wildest thing. So a TikToker thought you could get free money for an ATM by all you had to do is just withdraw the money. And even if you didn't have that balance in your account, you could take it from the ATM. So in this way, you were like stealing money from the bank. And they made a video about it that went viral. And all these people went to the ATM and took out more money than they had in their account. Okay, what is that called? Is that you really tricking the bank or the ATM? Two things. One, it's fraud. B, it's called an overdraft. And they didn't realize that, yeah, the ATM will let you take out more than you have in your balance, and then it will hit you with all sorts of fees, and you will be paying that money back and then some. So, they can learn really valuable information online. There's a lot of great ideas, and TikTok is a great place for students. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but a great place, I think, that people can go and get motivated to learn about money, motivated when they see different concepts and things, but we need to help them understand what's being said that's not there. I used to work as a news reporter in a previous lifetime, and one question that I always asked at the end of every interview was there anything that I shouldn't have asked, but I did? And this is a great question to teach to your students. Not only is that a great question in a job interview and just like in life, but in any sort of financial literacy context, have them think about what they're missing, what they didn't have, what wasn't on their radar. Okay. Acknowledging behavioral finance, right? So money decisions are often emotional. So you need to discuss the psychological aspects of spending and saving and investing to help students understand that their own biases and make rational choices. Examples of that are talking about things like FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Social spending. We spend money because we're in a group with other people in our, lemonade tycoon game. The girl has to decide between, or boy, you can play either way, has to decide between going to the water park with friends or running the lemonade stand, right? So just understanding when we're spending money because of social factors and just being aware of that, right? Identifying financial needs and goals and operating out of those instead of this fear of missing out. Behavioral economics, things like sunk costs, opportunity costs, and the endowment effect. Those are really important things for our students to understand. And then, oops, go back one, Natalie. Oh boy. Oh boy. She doesn't know how to use
Doing great.
I'm going backwards. It's not letting me.
You do that.
No, I'm doing it, folks. Okay. Paying, I was on instant gratification. Okay, here we go. Paying yourself first and then doing automatic transfers as tools to combat instant gratification, right? So these are just a few things that you could build lessons around. So finally, creating a safe space for dialogues. You want to foster an open classroom environment where students feel comfortable asking questions and discussing personal finance without judgment, right? And I think we do this by doing things that are inclusive for everyone. Some things that Dr. Kiki talked about were changing the names of your lesson plans to be more fun. So she had a lesson plan that was called Baddies, and what was it? Baddies and Budgeting. What you could do is you could take your titles of your lessons and throw them into an AI and say, make these titles more relevant or more appealing to high schoolers and see what they kick out, right? She talked about taking the names of her students and swapping them out in her curriculum lessons. So instead of it talking about Sally and Steve, it was the students in the classroom. And she said that was powerful for a couple reasons. One being that if you're talking about, for instance, Rick opening a bakery, and maybe Rick has never thought about opening a bakery. So not only are you making it fun and relatable by bringing Rick into the discussion, you are also planting seeds of things that maybe a student didn't think was possible. Also avoiding just like the black and white thinking of like, this is the only way to do things. Understand that students will want to use these peer-to-peer payment apps, right? They will be using Venmo. So you might as well talk about it rather than discouraging, right? And just let them know that it's not a bank account and that has to be linked to a bank account. And they might want to not carry a very, very large Venmo balance in the case of fraud, or talk to them about Venmo fraud. Afterpay, right? Nothing is really free. There's a hook to it and you got to figure out what's happening there. So rather than being scared of these technologies or these new things, just making it a space where your students can ask questions without personal judgment. So one day that we can really do that is by normalizing financial mistakes, right? So framing mistakes as an opportunity for growth, sharing your story. It is so powerful to have your story that if you're willing to, and of course use your own discretion and things like that, but sharing your financial missteps with students is really powerful. It can be really instructive for them to realize like, okay, everyone makes financial mistakes or everyone has done something, silly from time to time. I remember when being a college freshman and signing up for a Sears card, this is dating me, a Sears credit card to get like $10 off of something. And I honestly didn't realize that it was like impacting my credit and it was like doing all these things. I was just like $10 off, sure. And I can share that now with my kids, or even in a lesson, a financial literacy lesson, and be like, that saved $10. That wasn't beneficial to me, but I didn't know any better at the time, right? Other ways to foster this conversation are using a question box. You could put an old school question box in your classroom. So you could either have a digital one, or you could just have a question box at the front of the class or somewhere else where students can submit questions that they want an answer to. We had someone in a previous session talk about they're having a hard time motivating their students to use checks, and why would you use checks? That would be, something to talk about. And you can throw your own anonymous questions there if you want to just like make sure there's something interesting to talk about every day. One thing you could do is pull from the anonymous question box and have someone in the class answer that question, or assign someone to do the anonymous question of the day, because that reinforces some other skills as well. So finally, oh boy, I'm doing it again. Why can I not? It's been a long day, folks. Group discussion, explore hypotheticals, and then say things like, what if, or what do you think? So rather than like, hey, you're in debt, let's do this, or discussing people's general situations, or even something that might make someone think that you are like hypothetically talking about them. Maybe try to reframe your language to be hypothetically. So like, let's use this hypothetical scenario, or put them in someone else's shoes by saying things like, well, what if you didn't have enough money to pay for rent, or your family didn't have enough money to pay for rent? What are some ways you could generate income really quickly? Or if you needed to make $100 by the end of the week, what are some ways we could do that? Or what do you think? So framing things in this bigger context can be really helpful for teenagers in particular, but all of us. Or using words like imagine if, and it could be, you could be sharing, this could be one way to share your story, right? Without, again, using your discretion, feeling like whatever you feel like you can share with your students and their emotional maturity level. Maybe you don't want to share something and let them know that's you, but you could say like, imagine if, or take yourself out of it and say I had a college roommate who, whatever you want to do. You can use some of those tools for group discussions. So a few more ideas then now for expanding your playbook. So now that you've got these core pedagogical strategies, that you're familiar with, here's a few ways to expand your playbook. So doing things like this continuous professional development. Did you know that Banzai has a library of professional development resources at banzai.org/teacher professional development, where we post all of our prior webinars that you can rewatch at any time and earn PD credit. We have last year's back to school boot camp, which had some really great sessions, including a deep dive into Banzai and Banzai basics. If you're brand new to Banzai, Banzai basics could be really good to help you figure out how to sign up for a classroom and assign students and see student progress, that sort of thing. And yeah, we have sessions on there all the time. In fact, if you have a good idea for a teacher professional development session, please send it my way. We love to feature our teachers. We love to have them on. So email me, Natalie@banzai.org, with your question. I'm going to have them throw that in the chat. Leverage resources. If you're a first-time personal finance teacher, there are so many free resources, including Banzai, that can help you get your start. So looking at the Jumpstart Coalition for Personal Finance is a national organization that has set the standards on financial literacy. There's 6 different standards, and they have a lot of free information on their website. CEE, the Council for Economic Education, is another great resource. The National Endowment for Financial Education, or NEFI, NGPF, Next Generation Personal Finance. These are all great free resources that you can leverage in conjunction with Banzai. Building a teacher community. It's been so fun to see in the chats different teachers offering support to other teachers in their state. I saw one teacher that said, I'm new to teaching personal finance and I'm feeling really overwhelmed. And someone else jumped right in and said, I'm in your state. Here's my email address. Reach out to me. Let's work together. Teachers are so amazing, but we are actually working on a Banzai teacher forum for this purpose, just connecting you with other financial educators. So build that teacher community around you. Try to see if you have a local Jumpstart affiliate. Most states have a really active Jumpstart affiliate that you could be part of. They have really awesome conferences, really awesome resources. That's something that you could be a part of. And then our teacher support. We have a really awesome teacher support staff that's here around the clock-ish. I'm trying to think what their hours are, but they're here 9 to 5, here to support you. And you can sign up. I don't know if you knew this, but we'll drop the email in the chat. It's support@banzai.org. You can sign up anytime for a free 10-minute or less personalized walkthrough of Banzai. So they'll show you how to sign up, how to add classes, talk to you about your specific needs. Also, any of us on the curriculum team are happy anytime to answer requests for courses, ideas, that sort of thing. So any questions? Do we have any questions in the chat that I didn't answer, or anyone who's got a question for me? I looking through the chat here. Yes. To see if there's any other questions. Okay, I don't think so. I think that we can call that, oh wait, career and financial management as a standalone course. So Amy, are you hoping, oh, you're looking for financial, like a career, like managing your financial situation within a career, like in context, or those is separate? Is that what you're looking for? Looks like, does anyone have? Oh, New York's curriculum. So I don't know, Amy, if you're available to, if you ordered, if you joined our previous session with Rick, where he shared our curriculum alignment tool, that's at banzai.org/curriculum. And you can select the state and then see the state standards and where Banzai aligns. And so if there is a specific standard that you're trying to hit for career and financial management, it will show you where we hit that. But if that's an idea also that you want us to pursue, go ahead and send me an email with some more ideas of what you're looking for there. And we love to create courses based on teacher needs. In fact, our stock market game, retirement game, we've done consumer smart, soft skills, a lot of courses in the past few years based on teacher recommendations. Any other questions? Looks like we are almost out of time here. If you haven't yet, this QR code will let you sign up for that personalized tour that I discussed. Yes, please, honestly, please email us and say, hey, what did you have resources for this? And we will send you a list of them. And if we don't have anything, we will make something for you. Just a reminder that you'll get a follow-up survey if you want your PD credit for this. You look for a follow-up survey in your email inbox in the next day or so, and you can just fill out a survey and give us your feedback on this event and anything you learned or anything you're looking for or whatnot. And also, you could put in there if you're interested in hosting a PD session yourself, if you've got an idea for it, and then you'll automatically receive a PD certificate in your email. And go ahead and follow us on all social media. We actually do a lot of giveaways for teachers, a lot of really fun like contests and things like that for $100 gift cards, or we gave away a Kindle or different things like that. So follow us on Instagram for those. And thank you so much for your time, everyone. Have a wonderful day and a great back to school season. Reach out to us anytime. Thanks so much.